1968, George Romero brought us Night of the Living Dead. It became the classic horror film of its time. Now, George Romero brings us the most intensely shocking motion picture experience for all time. Dawn of the Dead. Night of the Living Dead has ended. Dawn of the Dead is here.
It's odd that I've never covered Dawn of the Dead on this channel. I've talked about its predecessor quite a bit over the years, but when I was a teenager first falling in love with Romero's zombie movies, Dawn of the Dead was actually my favorite. The story of survivors seeking refuge in a shopping mall in the thick of a zombie apocalypse struck me as a perfect cocktail of bleak horror, thrilling escapism, and social commentary. Certainly, the film opens itself up to close readings, and has widely been praised for its critique of American consumerism. The imagery of zombies instinctively shuffling through a mall is inherently loaded, reflecting the mindless consumption which dominates American culture. Crucial too is that the zombies aren't drawn to the humans hiding in the mall, they're drawn to the place itself.
They're after us. They know we're still in here.
They're after the place. They don't know why, they just remember. Remember that they want to be in here.
What are they doing? Why do they come here?
Some kind of instinct, memory, what they used to do. This was an important place in their lives.
The subtext is clear. Ritualistic consumption turns us into mindless hordes. But it would be a mistake to assume the critique of consumerism ends with the zombies. Any reading that stops there suggests a certain smug narcissism, a sense of looking down on those consumer fools from your more enlightened perspective. They may be easily controlled sheeple, but not me. I know better. That's why it's so crucial that Romero's critique extends to his human characters. That the heroes we identify with are just as susceptible to the seductive lure of consumerism as the zombies. While the group first flocks to the mall for a quick reprieve, they soon become enamored by the material goods housed within. You can see the excitement on the men's faces as they realize they basically have complete run of the place. And to be sure, there is survival value in the mall, as a well-stocked location of food and water. Oh, and also guns, I guess. But Romero's focus isn't on the survival necessities, it's on more leisurely goods. The first store they loot isn't a grocer, but a JCPenney. And while they claim to stick to the essentials, they also quickly admit they should try to get everything they can. The gleeful joy the men show only multiplies in later montages, where we see the heroes indulging in the mall's goods. And even when the very real horror of violence intrudes, the characters still cling to their goods. After the first mall raid when Fran is almost killed, her boyfriend Steven comforts her by reminding her of all the things they've got from the store.
You should see all the great stuff we got, Franny. All kinds of stuff. Well, this place is terrific. It really is. It's perfect. All kinds of things.
When Roger transforms into a zombie and is killed, his friends fill that void through leisure activities. Crucial too is the vicarious thrill of unrestricted shopping that the audience gets. Dawn of the Dead is a fun movie to watch in a way Romero's other zombie movies just aren't. Night of the Living Dead is a relentless piece of horror where the heroes constantly fail and quickly reduce to primitive tribalism. Day of the Dead is this bleak portrait of post-apocalypse, where only the worst of humanity seems to have made it to the other side, to the point that a zombie is the most sympathetic character. But Dawn of the Dead offers a tantalizing consumerist fantasy. What if you had free reign of a shopping mall? What would you do? Even if you are consciously reading the film as a critique of consumerism, it's hard not to buy into the fantasy at least a little bit. And given the repeated efforts to readapt Dawn of the Dead in different contexts, clearly it's a powerful fantasy. But for as fun as that fantasy may be, Romero frequently undercuts it. First, the characters still cling to the monetary value of their goods, even when this does not matter in the midst of an apocalyptic breakdown. Money is totally useless in this world, yet characters still cling to its worth.
You never know.
When taking candy, Steven takes the time to weigh it to see the cost. When he proposes to Fran, it's with an expensive ring he's nicked elsewhere from the mall. When the bandits arrive in Act 3, they pluck jewelry from a zombie, a meaningless acquisition in a world without money. But despite the complete collapse of a currency-based economy, the characters have a hard time escaping its power.
Hey man, what the hell you gonna watch on that thing?
And in a rather morbid way, this mirrors the zombies, who even in death cannot let go of their consumption instincts. And the consequences for not being able to let go are dramatic. The climax of Dawn of the Dead sees a group of bandits discover and begin looting the mall. Stephen and Peter watch, hidden from afar, ready to fight if need be, but mostly just watching. Except, Stephen cannot let go of his material possessions.
It's ours. We took it. It's ours.
He's willing to risk his life and that of his friends just to hold on to worthless goods. And like Roger, the two characters who are most enamored with the mall and its goods become subsumed by it, transformed into creatures driven purely by consumption. The notion of letting yourself die for your right to consume struck a different chord with me in the age of the coronavirus. When in the midst of genuine protests advocating for Black lives and against police brutality, others are demanding their right to continue in leisure activities, risking everything for a bit more stuff. Dawn even has a television debate where one pundit puts forth dropping bombs on all the major cities, letting several die for the greater good. This is eerily similar to the calls that businesses reopen despite the virus still being a very real threat. Grandma may die, but hey, that's a short price to pay to raise the Dow a couple of points, right?
We've got to remain logical. We've got to.
But in the midst of Dawn of the Dead's graphic violence and social critique, there's a section of the film that's always stuck out to me. A part where the film's heroes are just kind of hanging out. Unlike the ominous buildup of its predecessor, Dawn of the Dead opens in complete chaos and disarray. The outbreak has already begun. News media is collapsing. A police-led raid on an apartment complex ends in disaster, with many pointless deaths. Everyone's running, no one knows where.
We got an idea, maybe we can make it to the island. What island? Any island.
While on the run, our heroes witness armed militias, are attacked, and Peter is even forced to kill zombie children. Romero's vision is brutal and frenzied. But once the gang gets settled in the mall, they slowly become comfortable. We get many scenes of the characters at play, enjoying themselves, and even building a little home in their hidden enclave. It's almost nice. It's almost normal. Except, it's not. Romero is constantly reminding us that his heroes are suffocating in death. They haven't beaten the apocalypse, they've just found a way to distance themselves from it, filling their time with leisure and goods, all while the horror around them continues to unfold. Personally, I think this is the film's most disturbing critique of consumerism. How in a consumerist society, it's all too easy to endure horror, violence, and suffering, as long as you are comfortable. Again, this is another aspect of the film that's taken new meaning for me in light of the coronavirus. I've been lucky enough to continue working from home throughout the pandemic, able to pay my bills without risking my health. On an average day where I find myself working or playing video games or watching movies, things almost seem okay. I can relax and enjoy myself for a while. Until reality sets in and I remember we're living through a global pandemic ripe with uncertainty and incompetence as leaders and politicians continue to make dangerous choices. I suddenly remember just how scary the times we're living through are.
What have we done to ourselves?
Romero's heroes have a similar moment of awareness, where tensions begin to mount as the characters grow disconnected and begin to snap at each other. In his article, The Ideal Proletariat, Kyle William Bishop argues that without any meaningful labor to sustain them, the characters have become idle and purposeless. Their disconnect, then, comes from an awareness that material goods can't fully satisfy them, because consumerism can't adequately address the overriding problems this world faces. While Roger and Stephen become completely subsumed in consumerism, Fran and Peter manage to escape. Bit of an unrealistic touch given Peter's last-minute lust for life comes totally unmotivated and the music borders on parody, but Romero still ends their story with an ominous touch, as the pair fly towards an unknown future.
How much fuel do we have?
Not much.
All right.
The credits roll over imagery of the mall, once again flourished by wandering zombies, as ironically vapid, upbeat music plays. No longer troubled, they may return to their docile consumption. George A. Romero was a master of using the zombie movie to explore social problems, and while largely the father of the genre, there were several predecessors that helped pave the way for his work. Next week, we take a closer look at one such pre-zombie movie,